Hello everyone and welcome back. Well, where do I begin with this one? Like so many around the world, I just watched the State of Unreal, where they announced and showed off some of what Unreal 5.8 is focusing on. I've got really fond memories of Unreal 5 being announced. Yes, I know the performance turned out to be quite challenging at times over the years, but when Unreal 5 came out, there was this sense of almost limitless possibility for what you could do with the way the tech was evolving. And don't get me wrong, watching Unreal 5.8 today was very cool, but it brought into focus something that I've been feeling about the industry recently, and the ways that it's changing. And I don't think it can ever change back. In fact, realistically, I think it probably started this change about 5 years ago or so, and now we're starting to really see the effects of it after all of that COVID money is kind of draining out, and the fundamental economic reality of how games are currently being made versus how they're being played, the expectations of consumers, the expectations and hopes of devs, are all kind of operating, at the moment, slightly out of sync. Now I'm going to hazard just one small tiny guess here about what players want. They just want cool games of all different shapes and sizes and kinds. Maybe some want to be taken to other incredible worlds in ultra high fidelity and feel like they were there. Some just go for the story and for coziness. Some go for the mechanics and the addictive gameplay, and a million permutations of all of those things and many, many more operating in different, wonderful, incredible combinations. I think that was true 5 years ago. I think it's true now. I think it's always been true and probably always will be true. And ultimately, in the best case scenario, in my opinion, all new technology does is it makes it more possible to make awesome stuff for people to play. But as we all know, the world's complex and there's always more to the story. So there's always more to this as well. So let's just have a look at 5.8 and see what we think. So let's just get straight into it. The Unreal MCP integration. So originally this video is actually going to be a sequel to the last one I made, where I prototyped a bunch of fun Unreal stuff for fun in 5.8 to try it out. And it was great, but I started to see how the project was going to get really big and busy, which for a fun YouTube project isn't really the aim. And one of the most fun things about small projects is you get to try new workflows. So naturally, I was really keen to try the MCP integration. Again, this is not a commercially shipped project, I just wanted to see how it worked. And to be honest, basically the second part of this video is initially going to be, okay, it does quite a lot. Like it does quite a lot. Interesting. Cool. With all of the ethical and player-based questions that kind of come with that. Is this something people want? Is this something we should use? What can it actually do? Does it take away authorship? A million questions that will be played out over the next few years. You can probably already imagine the video in your head. Oh my god, this was cool, I did all this stuff, but what does this mean for the industry, blah blah blah. So I was really interested and poised to see how Unreal was going to approach the MCP topic. Because whatever your opinion of it, I think it's massive. Massively good, massively bad, it's massively something, because realistically it connects deeply into the engine and it can do a lot of automation. I know for a fact that people that haven't really tried Unreal before because they've been scared to learn blueprints or they just want to make stuff for UEFN are going to try these tools and they're going to make stuff. Good or bad? We'll find out. This question's going to get played out in the industry over the years. But I was kind of expecting Unreal to say, oh yeah, by the way, we do all this MCP stuff now, as a kind of footnote in the presentation, because realistically, this is a controversial topic. But no, it got the flagship spot, and they took it a little bit further than I was expecting them to. Now the plugin in 5.8's early access was good, but it's missing stuff, but that's really not an issue with AI integrations because you just say, hey, this is missing, make it not be missing. We're living in this weird world right now. But no, they really pushed it. They pushed their deep integrations with PCG, all of the level stuff, which I've always been a bit mid on personally. And they didn't stop there. They showed a whole bunch of integration with various different image models as well, and even some 3D gen. And that's where they kind of lost me personally. I have literally zero interest in generated art. And you can see here during the screen cap that as soon as I started really going hard on this, I kind of went, oh my god, and had to enable the chat feed because I wanted to know what people were thinking. And they were thinking all right. Good lord, that chat was interesting to read. Now it became overwhelmingly abundantly clear that the majority of the people in the chat were extremely not up for this. Now, were they devs? Were they gamers? Hard to know. I don't know those people. But the chat was spammed with words like slop and a whole bunch of other anger, and it was fascinating to watch. The vibe was completely different to the Unreal 5 release. In fact, the vibe over kind of the industry has changed a bit more in the last few years as well. But as I was watching this, I was just kind of thinking, yeah, regardless of whether or not people want this, everything is changing. Everything is about to change. Everything has already changed. Now let's just break this down a little bit, because it gets really complicated. Gamers right now are saying that they don't want AI stuff. Cool, fair enough, no problem, boss. There are so many studios right now rallying around the concept and idea of human-led, human-generated games. Really good stuff. In fact, in Project Remind, we have a disclaimer that says no generative art was used in this game, because we crafted everything ourselves and it took forever and we think it's worth it. Same for the music. We could never replace our composer. He's an 11 out of 10 friend and also talented person. Every single conversation he's in is 100 times better because of the things that he said and the presence he gave. No robot or AI can ever bring what he's brought to the game. But let's look at this from the wider industry perspective as well. So games are getting harder to make. That's a fact. Games are getting more complicated, games are getting more expensive, games are taking longer. But the market's not growing to support the increase in complexity and scope. Now, you could argue that this is a scoping issue. Fair enough. A lot of studios solve it by just not scoping like that. But fundamentally, the process of making high-fidelity AAA games has gotten way more difficult than it was even a decade ago. And the returns aren't matching the increase in complexity. Okay, point number 2. Let's say a really good studio says, okay, we're not going to make any AI shortcuts, we're going to make this game the old-fashioned human way. Cool. We'll build it well, we'll build systems, we'll build tooling. Okay, great. So you can probably still accelerate development a little bit and control the scope. Everyone's working really hard to do that. But what about another studio? Well, if they do take all the shortcuts, all that's left is for gamers to say no. And do you think they will? Well, we don't know is the honest answer. If you look at this chat, I mean, right now you can make an inference, but sentiment changes on the internet like the tides change in the sea. It comes and it goes. Now, some things, important things, have stayed the same. Like, for example, the industry's take on microtransactions. They don't feel particularly beneficial to the player experience most of the time. And it's my own personal view that AI art, you just lose too much authorship right now, and you get something that is generic and sludgy and not tailored for your game. And if you change the prompting, you get something a little bit more like the thing you were thinking in your head. But at what point does that make a beautiful and coherent experience? Not to mention all of the technical challenges with AI art. If it's all using custom textures, that's a huge memory footprint. But I'm going to play devil's advocate here, because as a dev, I'm trying to look at the best way to make the games that players want. When I tried the MCP tools, they did speed a few procedural things up. Not so much, oh, fill this room with chairs. That takes 3 minutes for a talented environment artist to do, or 3 minutes for anyone with access to Unreal Engine to do, to be honest. It's not rocket science. But in terms of assets, pipelines, things like that, maybe it can speed things up. And realistically right now, the majority of the industry, not everyone, but a lot of people are already using AI as a dictionary for programming. Not necessarily, hey, write me this entire system, but hey, I've got this challenge, I haven't used this syntax or this framework in a while, can you give me the basics? It's saving a lot of different people a lot of time, and very few studios are not using it at all. They might not be talking about it, but I guarantee you they're using it. In fact, I would say almost all of the big studios are, except the ones that are explicitly saying they're not. So we're in this world where it's kind of coming and it's kind of happening, and the real big question for me is, will it result in amazing games for players? If a underlying framework is built using Claude versus built by hand, and the experience is exactly the same, let's just say for this hypothesis, does the one that was built by humans have more of a value to the player? And I don't just mean in terms of, oh, we like the fact. I mean, will it mean more to them? Will they buy that game more? Will they engage with it more? Or is it all the same? But maybe that's a bad example. Maybe the majority of generic code should be automated by AI. Again, this is devil's advocate, please. I'd love to hear what you think, but, don't grill me just yet. Maybe it should be. I don't know. But maybe the stuff that really shouldn't be is the stuff where only a John Carmack or a senior architect for a game can really build something that's never been seen before, the core hook of the player experience. Maybe that's where the time should be spent. And should that be made by humans or AI? I don't know, but it should be made awesome. Now let's go over to writing. Now here's one where I think it doesn't matter how good the models get. Part of consuming art is having a conversation with the artist. When I read a Stephen King novel, I'm making a connection with Stephen King. When I read or listen to a beautiful piece of music, I can feel the emotions in the creator. Knowing that they're there is important to me. It's the same for me personally for world building. When you inhabit a game that's been crafted and built with care of any genre, you can feel it. You can feel the skill and thinking and passion of the team. So whilst I might personally see the benefits in a lot of background automation and frameworks and stuff, a lot of the core tasks are just as important as they ever have been to be done in a way that makes a connection between the player and the team. But that's my opinion. What will the market say? What will the people buying games say? Right now in Crimson Desert, they had a bit of a tiny controversy for using some generative art for some of the portraits. Cool, okay, it was replaced, no big deal. But you could really tell it was done by AI. In 10 years, will you be able to? And will people care? So are my assumptions right now only a piece of history? Or are they fixed? Ultimately right now, unfortunately, a lot of the time, I think the kind of people that value expediency and trying to just build something over really thinking about it and crafting with intent are the ones who are shouting the loudest. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens when really genuinely incredibly creative people have a look at these tools. Again, personally, I have no interest in the 3D art side. Maybe it's too early, but for me, it's not about the earliness. It's about, yes, I can have a tire, cool. And to be honest, you don't necessarily need to author a tire with intent. But what about the building? What about the space? What story are you trying to tell? And is something generative, approximate, good enough? Or do you need to take your time there? Okay, I'm sort of going around in circles at this point. The best answer I can give right now to any dev or any player is you have to choose for yourself. And over time, we'll probably see a little bit of segmentation in both directions and combinations of all types. This game uses AI code, this game uses AI art, this game uses no AI stuff. But fundamentally right now, we're in a position where games are extremely difficult to justify investing in, unless it's a known IP, and extremely difficult to make. So this is going to force a rebalance in some way or other. And although I have a huge preference towards crafting games with soul and care, I also can't give you a platitude in good faith that says, this is all just a trend, this is all something that will never equal, the weight and magnitude of the human invention. I might believe it, I might believe most of that, but this is a Pandora's box that's been opened, and I don't think it will ever get put back in. And it's only going to get more complicated if AI tokens start getting expensive. So here's where I'm at with this. We're not using any AI art for Project Remind or any of our subsequent games. I think that'll stay pretty constant. I'd rather look at new kinds of tooling to improve the speed of modeling and world building. There's a lot of frameworks in place that you can do before you go, please generate me house. And I'm personally just focused on finding the best ways to make awesome games for people. If we can make them more quickly, amazing. As long as the players have an amazing, meaningful, heartfelt time, that's what matters to us. And yet, somehow, everything that I've just said is almost kind of besides the point. Because at the very end, Tim Sweeney and another colleague of his came to talk about Unreal Engine 6. So Tim proposed a resolution to the challenge that I raised a minute ago that games are getting really hard to justify and make by basically saying we're going to build them in a way that everything is interconnected. We're going to reduce the costs by using repeatable frameworks, and we are going to build a platform where all games can be equally met. He kind of simultaneously said we don't want someone like Roblox to take over the entire industry, whilst also proposing that the best solution to that was that Fortnite takes over the entire industry, in my opinion. But the piece about interconnected frameworks as a new way of making games, I think is just like the AI thing right now. I think it's coming. And I've always talked about kind of being up for the Ready Player One metaverse as long as people can still make an honest living and pay their bills and live with a bit of dignity in the industry that they love, excellent. But you're only ever one bad actor or gatekeeper away from the rug being pulled out from under you. So I'm very curious to see how Epic propose to make this fair rather than absolutely autocratic. Now, I was kind of wondering over the last few months, what about building your own ecosystem for games? Well, Epic kind of got ahead of that and went, well, we're going to build an ecosystem of ecosystems, all interconnected under the Verse shared asset platform. And it was kind of implicit, in my opinion, that a lot of this would be built using AI tools. Not necessarily image gen, but also not necessarily not image gen. So all I can do is say how I'm responding to all of this. I'm trying not to keep my head in the sand and pretend it's still 2019. I'm trying not to fixate on how games were made 5 years ago. I'm trying to continue to drive forward based on the one question that I can focus on. How can I make amazing things for players? Which is, behind the scenes, equally weighted by the other important question, can we viably do this as a business? And to that end, I'm all for challenging the way that we make games and trying new things. What I'm not for is games being simultaneously completely accessible, but also completely inaccessible in the sense that they can actually do anything for you other than being released. The YouTube model's been genuinely amazing because small creators have been able to make a living on this platform. Typically bigger creators, but you get what I mean. You don't have to be a corporation, you can be a person. That has to work for whatever's coming, and I'd imagine just like blockbusters and movies, there's still probably space for the really big stuff, even if the industry's rebalancing at the moment. Ultimately, here's one thing. If anyone can sit down into an LLM and say, please make me GTA 7, no mistakes, there is no game industry. There isn't, because players will just play what they want and share things they've made online, like a platform, like some of the AI gen platforms right now, like Midjourney. It's more about the fun of seeing what you've been making, rather than the process of making something with commercial, transactional value. Now, there's a middle ground grey area there for platforms that are all about kind of content and churn and live service stuff. Fair enough. But I more mean for bigger projects. If we find ourselves in a world where you can ask for anything that you want, just with a few presses of your keyboard or speaking your voice, and it is good enough that people use it and choose it over more traditional forms of games, well, where do we go from there? I'll give you just one hint where I think we go from there. We go back to human connection. Not necessarily, this was entirely human-made, but more a case of who made this and why. Now, one of my favorite old TV shows, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, there's an episode where Dr. Bashir has a holo novel from a creator that's finally been sent to the station, and he's so excited to try it. In a world where you can ask for anything you want, and software can move billions and billions of times the speed of human thought, all of that was put to use for one human to connect with another human. And ultimately, I like the idea of that. If we find ourselves in a future where things change to that degree, I really hope the human connection element can remain. But ultimately, I think we're in for a period in the future where those one-prompt systems are kind of a toy and a gimmick, and the real stuff is what happens when teams ask themselves, how can we use the latest technology to competitively make the coolest bloody thing that we possibly can? Followed very promptly by the question, and will players buy that? Because we don't know. Players might vote with their wallets and go for absolutely no AI. Platforms like Steam might continue to make people disclose it. Award ceremonies might keep it out, which is not a bad thing in my opinion. But how long will that last for? Is this just an error in a wider trend? Or is this the new normal? More questions than answers. So I recommend to you, if you're in the industry, just keep building stuff. Just keep trying stuff. Just keep trying new things and keep your skills sharp in as many areas as you can. And if you just love amazing games, tell us. Tell us what you want to see. Tell us what you want to play. Tell us how you feel about all this stuff. Really though, really do, because saying no to AI slop online is one thing, but I'm so curious to see how it will actually translate when some company like Palworld again has a heavily AI-driven game that people do want to play. What will happen? Okay, I've been yapping for about 4 times longer than I thought I was on this. For those of you that have still stayed, thank you so much for listening. What I'm going to do now is show you a couple of minutes of what happens when you grind your absolute backside off to craft a game. Ours was built without AI, but really the point there is we asked ourselves about every little tiny detail, is this the thing we want people to experience? Please enjoy, and you can wishlist it now on Steam if you want. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.